The purpose of this video is to shave off pixels on the IMB 2 of 5, 3 of 9, and the 128 barcodes to compensate for dot gain. The first thing we're going to do is close the MCS array software. Then we're going to find the setup.cfg file. We're going to open up the setup.cfg file in Notepad. We're going to change the barcode settings for the shaving. And then we're going to save it, and then we're going to reopen the MCS software. Start with click on the file and go to exit and click on exit to get out of the array software. Now we're going to find the MCS icon and right click on the icon and go down to properties, and we're going to find the location that the software is located, because we want to actually find the setup config file, setup.cfg. Now what I want to do is right click on this and open with Notepad. Use Notepad. We find Notepad to be the most useful for editing the setup.cfg file. So I'm going to double click on Notepad, and now I have my setup config file ready to edit. The first barcode I'm going to adjust is the 3 of 9, and what I want to do is go in your Notepad file or your setup.config file, and you can do a find search and go barcode 3 of 9 no spaces, and we'll find you here. If you notice, I'm just in a section of the setup config file, and at the end of this section between the two barcodes there is a X width adjustment and a Y width adjustment. Now these adjustments are for the width of the barcode. And what we're going to do is, if you put a 1 there, and if I put a 1 here, what this will do is take away 1 pixel from the thickness of the barcode. And like we said, this is to compensate for dots of ink spreading in the paper, causing the bars to be too thick, artificially too thick. So this is an adjustment outside the spec of the barcode that allows you to compensate for dot gain. So if you're having a trouble getting good grades on your 3 of 9 barcodes, this would be the procedure for 3 of 9 barcodes. The 2 of 5 barcode is almost identical to the 3 of 9 barcode. You want to go down to the 2 of 5 section of the barcode in the setup config file, and at the end of the settings is the same settings you see in the 3 of 9. You would set either 1 to 1 depending on what you want to do, and then you would go to file set. So for the 2 of 5 and the 3 of 9, they're almost identical on how you would set it up. For the 128 barcode, it's a little bit different. Same thing, you want to do a search on 128 or barcode 128 in Notepad. It will bring you down to this section, and at the end of the barcode section there's actually 4 settings on the 128: the X1, the X2, X3, and X4 adjustment. You would do the same thing. You would set each one to 1, 2, 3, or 4 pixels. Rarely ever more than 1 is too much, so typically you just want to do 1. Once again, you would have to do file save to make it active, and then you would have to go back into the software once you save it, the array software, to make it active. Now when it comes to the IMB, the PostNet IMB code, it's a little bit different. You would actually be in the array software when you do it, and you go into template and you would have your IMB barcode here. And if I double click it on here, you'll actually see the bar width bleeding adjustment pixels here. So it's a simple adjustment. These settings here are the width within postal specs based on the distance of the dots. So if you're at 600 dpi, these are the only options based on how far the dots are from each other. These are the dot distances from 300, 200, 150. So that's kind of nice. You have a lot of options to make your barcodes. These are all within spec, by the way, postal spec of the width. Now, once again, it could be that your substrate causes the dots to spread out. So even though you're printing within spec, the dots might be spreading out due to the substrate being like recycled paper, for example. Now these settings over here are strictly pitch. How many dots, how many bars per inch, and the postal spec is 22 bars plus or minus 2 bars. So you'll notice it says 21.43 because at 200 dots per inch, you can't be exactly 22 bars per inch under that spec. So, but all these have the options within postal specs. Now, none of this is adjusted by the pixels, just the width of the barcodes here. So if I put 1, for example, and you can actually see it in the software. If you see, I'll do it to the extreme. I'll put 3 and hit apply. You'll see the barcode get thinner. So I'll zoom in a little bit to make it more apparent. So if I take that off, you see the bars are thicker, and if I put it on, you'll see they're thinner. And once again, this is strictly to be used to compensate for dot gain, ink spreading into recycled paper, where it's a threat to your, getting certified the barcode grade if they're a 3 of 5 or 2 of 5 or 128, or 3 of 9, sorry. And if you're having a problem with Merlin with the IMB.